Hi everyone, I'm super excited to host Matias Sigal. He's CEO of Replace, building siting and M&A intelligence for renewable energy projects. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you, Mayur. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Matthias, take us back from where you started till this date. What would be your top three career highlights?
So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and when I was in high school, I started with a friend a product company, and then I'm from Argentina, and I became part of this entrepreneurial community in Buenos Aires, and I started to hear about impact. And that was something crucial, I think, on my career because then I learned I not only wanted to build a business, but to make an impact. And I converted that business into, in fact, social impact. We started to produce in a factory of ex-convicts. And through that, I got to learn more and more about impact and about climate change. And I understood that, in fact, climate change is the biggest problem of our era, that technology can tackle and can bring also economic impact at the same time. And that led me to focus even more and more on climate tech. And then to move to Israel, which was the second highlight, and start working in tech in Israel, being fourth employee as a company that then IPO'd and opened few markets. And in that company, I was developing renewable energy projects. And there, most of my projects failed because of the location, which gave me the main pain that we are solving today. And maybe that's the third highlight.
Wise. And what's the major difference between entrepreneurial ecosystem in Argentina versus Israel? Like pros and cons of both?
Yeah, so I believe Tel Aviv is for me, the best city in the world to start a startup by far for several reasons. There is even a book about it called The Startup Nation, but on top of that book, it's full of entrepreneurs, so it helps to do pilot and ideate and validate these problems, access to capital, access to the world markets, and like if you go to a cafe in Tel Aviv, you will hear people around talking about a seed round or an IPO, 100% ensured. This being said, I believe it depends at the market you are tackling and the type of product. If you want to do a fintech company or a ag tech or some sort of problem that you find a lot in Latin America, for example, maybe it's better to start it from Buenos Aires. But if you want to build maybe an AI SaaS company or cyber or climate tech, it's maybe likely better to start it from Israel. Also, it depends personally the network and the opportunities. But and just to close this question, when I came at the beginning to Israel, I came just for 2 months to learn, and I had a conversation with one of the most famous businessmen in Argentina that he's also Jewish, and I asked him exactly that question, and he answered me, I don't, it depends. And I thought he didn't want to answer, but then I understood that it really depends. And it depends of your personal goals, of the industry you are working on. But yeah, this being said, for me, Tel Aviv was by far the best place in the world to go from zero to one.
And what about the culture? Like, what's the major difference or shock you found?
Yeah, so I had a super soft landing because I always say I came for 2 months 6 years ago. So I came for 2 months and then I did an internship in this company and then they hired me and sent me to 6 countries to open the business, Australia, Netherlands, Portugal, and others. Came back and continue from here. And there are many cultural shocks in Israel, it's Middle East, but it's a good combination of first world and third world in the same time. So it makes it interesting every day. But yeah, in the tech industry, it's crazy. There are events every day. People is really willing to help. And I was trying to look for mentors at that point at the beginning mainly. And I was able to have one-on-one coffee for at least 1 hour with four founders of billion-dollar companies. Like each
Wow.
separate case, each random story how we got to meet, but I believe that was kind of only possible to happen in this scenario.
That you made it sound it's so much accessible to be meet those people. Like, can you double down on a bit? Like, let's say I just moved to Tel Aviv. I want to meet and find mentors or be around those people. What are the events? Am I just reaching out on LinkedIn? Like, share some strategies.
Yeah, yeah. So in each of these four cases, I was very much opportunistic. So I saw the opportunity, but one is a crazy story. So one of them, I had a parking lot and not no car, so I rented it on Facebook. And then one random guy from Facebook text me, like send me a message. Hey, I want it. Okay, yes, it's yours. We met to sign, and I asked him, "What do you do?" And he told me, "No, I have a startup." But I thought it was a small startup. And after we spoke for 30 minutes, I told him, "Good luck with your startup. Like, bye." And then I Googled him, and he was the founder of a $7 billion company. And I told him, "Good luck with your startup." So then I called him the day after. I told him, "Hey, I just saw who you are. I want to learn from you. I also want to start a tech company." He told me, "Of course, let's meet tomorrow in this coffee, 7 a.m." And in fact, that meeting was great because I was in between two ideas, and he pushed me to do SaaS more than a hardware idea that I had in mind, also always in the climate tech space, and was great. And then that was one case, but most of the other cases is people I heard speak at a conference, at an event, and then I went to them. But the key with this type of people is to be as concrete as you can with why you want to talk to them, how they can help you, and why now and why you, because lots of people reach out to them and you need to stand out. But yeah, also I think this ecosystem helped that to happen.
Got it. Any particular conference or community that you would highly recommend?
So when I just arrived, there are like lots of events like in Eventbrite on Mondays, in fact, and I was going every Monday just to build this network from scratch. But then also you put the bar more up, and right now like you don't want to go that much to these events that are super broad because it's difficult to do quality networking. But yeah, then there are a lot of conferences per industry. There is an amazing energy community called Ignite the Spark in Israel and Planet Tech in climate tech. That in my case was they were great and super helpful.
Got it. And can you share now, after the internship, you got to set up the companies in various countries. What led to you this idea? How was your idea exploration phase?
Of course, basically, my main motivation to move to Tel Aviv was to start a company that makes an impact on the environment through technology. So I was thinking, okay, it's not like Isaac Newton that the apple hit his head and he discovered gravity. You know, he was an expert in physics and then he realized and put the pieces together. And in my case, I said, okay, it's not that the idea will come from the sky. I need to create that environment and like help find this problem solution combination. So I said, okay, here the lifestyle, the social life is pretty active. So I said, okay, on Mondays I won't do anything social after office. I will every day, I call it the Startup Monday, and I will every day research technology, solutions, ideas, problems that in the climate tech space, and I ended up building an Excel and with criterias, and one of them was impact, another one was like how much I care, TAM, like total addressable market, competition, and some stuff like that. And I ended up having like I think 52 ideas. And every Monday I was researching them, going deeper. A lot of them I found out that big companies were already doing it, so I took them out. But then none of them was good enough. But at that point, I saw that most of the projects I was I started during the last 3 years in my job developing renewable energy projects failed because of the location. And I said, okay, this can be interesting. Let's talk to solar developers. Solar is one of the most commercial and advanced um, segments in renewables. Let's see how they do it. And I understood that for them as well. And I called one, then I called 10, I called 20. Till today, I called more than 300 solar developers from all over the world, from every single continent in the world. And I found out that 80% of the projects never get to be built. They fail in the development phase. And the main reason is the location. And the main reason is the site selection because of the permitting grid, landowners details, and it's not possible to check every single parcel of land with all these parameters at the same time and find the best one. So then I said, okay, this looks like a compelling idea, a compelling problem. It fits my purpose of making an impact on the environment because the more projects that will get developed faster, we avoid CO2 emissions from fossil fuels. Let's go all in. And then I quit my old job and I started with this. At that point in the interviews phase, maybe I had like 20 and then I grew to 300. But that was the ideation process. And on this, maybe just to add, on these interviews, I was doing a methodology called the MAM test. There is a book, which means like you don't want to bias the other side, like the people you are interviewing, and you want to kind of ask them questions on their daily life, on their work, and see if this pain come out. And yes, it came out in every single conversation.
So interesting. Like I actually want to get a tactical advice from it. So you made a list of 300 solar developers. You can elaborate on the whole strategy. Like how did you find the emails and contact? Did you just like go to the website, found contact, and especially if sometimes when there is a international number calling, it labels as spam or something. So how do you like overcame that challenge of low pickup?
Yes. So it's an interesting phase to be ideating versus to be selling, because when you are ideating and you will become an entrepreneur and so on, people want to help, people want to be the one that helped you. Uh, and also, yeah, and the other side, you never know. Maybe you end up doing stuff together with a lot of them. I stay in touch. But I was in the industry, so some people introduced me to other people. So it's a process, and was these 300 were on the period of time. But a key is to, after you finish one coffee or one call with someone that you are kind of interviewing, to ask them to connect you to one or two more, and then it becomes exponential. Yeah, most of them were not through me reaching out on LinkedIn or cold calling, were more conferences, introductions, people I knew from the past, and so on.
So the hack is ask for two intros for everyone. Call you
Yeah, and
like
go to conferences and talk to people, tell everyone what you are doing, and people will introduce you. Like, it's incredible how people want to help if you are into a nice mission.
and can you also share like what are the 3 to 5 or 7 questions in the mom test approach you ask?
Yeah. So, well, the key is what you want to validate. And I wanted to validate, like, a key question was, how do you find the locations for your Like, first of all, once you get that they are finding locations and developing projects, renewable energy projects, a key question is, how do you find these locations? And then it goes from there, and then to understand if the main answer, it was crazy sometimes, and it depends in which area of the world, but sometimes it's like opportunistically getting to the landowner from that is the cousin of the owner of a hotel they stayed, from there until using some sort of GIS, geographical information systems technologies, and everything in the middle. So, and then dig deeper into the pain and understand how much time it takes them to go from zero to ready to build, from zero to how the project developed, or NTP, how it's called in the industry, and then dig deeper on the pain. Like, if they saw projects fail and why, and then they start, yes, the project has had too much slope and then was not economically viable, but we only found out after 3 months of work and things like that. And in the cases I was doing these meetings in person, it was much better.
Got it. So instead of like a traditional or common approach is like how badly do you find the pain of finding location? You're like, okay, how are you current finding like what are the steps involved? And you by their language figure out, okay, is it really a pain or is it your assumption?
Yeah, and the key, yeah, that's a great point, because the key is you are not telling the pain. You are asking, like, what I told you was maybe 10 minutes into the meeting, but you start kind of, okay, what's your role in the company? I'm a developer, I develop projects. How do you develop the projects? And then you go from there. So the key is to understand if they surface this pain, and then understand the details. And then you can come back and tell them, remember 2 months ago you told me about this pain? We built this technology that reduce the development risk and find the optimal location in 2 clicks instead of the 4 months that you told me it used to take you. Are you interested? And then you get deeper into a more commercial discussion.
God, this is a great advice. So the playbook here is from your conferences, existing connections, do interviews, validate the idea, and 2 months later, for the pain point they identified, show them and engage them in a pilot program, and then discuss the fan. How like
Yes.
what's between the 2 months? Like how did you form the team? How did you build the product?
Yeah. So 2 months was an example in one. case that we had already. So, but in maybe to put all the story together and like going back, I told you I did 20 interviews. I was convinced. I went full time on it, and I needed a technical co-founder. So I was dating programmers, and I had, but one of my best friends, he is a developer, but he was starting his company on his own as a solo founder, very much technical. But we went together on a ski trip, like just as friends. I didn't ask him to join at that point because I didn't want him to quit his company, but he was like the perfect match. And during the trip, I told him the idea. With his snowboarding was amazing. I came back to Tel Aviv and he called me, Matias, I will drop my company. I want to make an impact. I truly believe in your vision. Let's do it. And I was, are you sure? Yes. Okay. So then we were able to build the MVP, which funny enough, we went again to ski and we said, okay, until we don't finish it, we put a lot of meetings on Monday. This was Friday, and we couldn't ski or go out until we don't finish the MVP. So we stayed until very late. We finished the MVP. We were able to ski one day and then went to the capital city to meet these huge solar companies to show them the MVP we promised, which we had. So we put pressure on ourselves to move fast, and then we had this MVP to show. So this is how all these pieces came together to this story of validating the idea and refining it based on feedback from the actual segment of customers.
That's such an incredible story. Before skiing, you had like no co-founder. After skiing trip, you had an MVP. And so, what about the designs like graphics, UI, UX? You had the imagination.
So basically, it came a lot, kind of yes, because I was developing projects and I had the pain, but was not specifically in the solar industry. Then, like by talking to customers, you start to ideate how it can be, and I kind of did a PowerPoint about it, but I'm not too much good with this tool. So at some point, like we hired external UX designers and so on, like to have something more compelling. But yeah, like the main thing we wanted to understand of all these meetings is like the real pain and how we can solve it, and we definitely need like advanced technology to do it.
So now we have the MVP. You got back to the initial people you interviewed. What was the next biggest challenge?
So there is a something interesting with startups that there are three things. You have the product, the customers, and the capital, right? So these are the three things. But the problem is that always one asks you for the other, like this phrase like the egg and the chicken. So the customer asks you, okay, call me when you have the product, and the product asks you for the money because you need developers and investment to build this product. And the capital, the investors ask you for customers because they want validation. So how do you do it? And the answer I found is okay, advance with all in parallel however you can. So we build this MVP. With this MVP, we show it to customers. We got some sort of letters of intent. And with that, we got the first angel investors that they were like very strong in the venture capital industry. So with those names, we got some additional investors. Then we built an initial team. We had a better product. We signed the first pilot customers and got the ball running. But the approach was to try to advance in with all in parallel however you can, and this is maybe more for first time entrepreneurs. If you already did a half a billion exit, you will go to VCs that are knocking your door.
Well, Matthias, you made it sound very easy. Do everything, money will come, and then get invested and get the bigger round. Like, what are the things you learned the hard way in this whole process?
Relationships are key. For example, the investors that led our seed now in the seed round, we met like maybe 2 years ago, but for sure 1.5 years before we signed that deal, and we built that relationship and we proved we were achieving what we promised. In the movies and the newspaper, you see, okay, this team just raised 10 million, and you think you go to the meeting and you exit with the door with a check. And in my experience, it's not like that. You need to build those relationships for the long run, which is then great because then you are sure who you are choosing as partners. But that was something a great learning. And yeah, everything always take more than what you expect.
Got it. How much time does one has to plan for fundraising? Let's say they want $2 million now, like you have to build the hype, The latest follow-up meetings and close the round.
Yeah, I think from my experience and also listening to some great mentors I have that are like more experienced CEOs, it depends on your current status and milestones, the economic cycle and macro situation and like price of capital, let's say, and some other aspects. So it really depends. People say like 6 months, but I will say it's more. And the you are the kind of always fundraising, but yeah, after you close it, you need to focus on reaching your actual business milestones, and then it should take it in concrete 6 months, but start preparing before because you want to build like these relationships to close the real amazing partners and not only capital. So yeah, for example, now we are almost not focusing at all in talking to investors, but we are always, if someone offers an intro to someone from a VC that is interesting to open this relationship, we will of course have that coffee.
Let's do a bit deeper dive into the product. Like, what's the whole journey of a
Yeah,
user?
yeah, yeah. So basically, Replace is a platform for transparent and efficient development and acquisitions of renewable energy projects. So we help solar developers to identify the optimal location for a greenfield facility in a few clicks, and also to help them identify opportunities for M&As, for mergers and acquisitions that are in the queue, in the interconnection queue. So this is what we do, and we do it with technology and AI, and basically making this process that is manual and always with brokers and investment bankers or consultants involved with technology, and also in both cases evaluating all the options and choosing the best one. And today nobody do that. These developers either check few lands and then select the most suitable one from those, let's say 10, or the same the M&A teams. They get 10 propositions of projects to acquire, but they didn't see the 11,000 that are on that queue and compare them and see the ones that have the best fit for their portfolio. And this can have immense value to the success because most of these projects never get to be built, but also to the efficiency, the time it takes them, and so on.
God. And what's your vision of the place 5 years from now?
Yeah, so basically, remember I started that I wanted to came to Israel to build a tech company that makes an impact on the environment, and I believe that we're accelerating the energy transition. We are helping to develop more renewable energy projects faster, and what we want to accelerate that curve of the reduction of fossil fuel emissions. We are doing it by, as I was saying a bit, making transparent and efficient the development and acquisitions of these renewable energy projects. And in practice, what it means is we want to have happen inside the platform everything before constructions. So a developer will come with the idea, with the vision of having a project, and will leave the platform with everything they need to go to the engineers and build that project.
Like one-stop solution for I see. What has been your proudest moment?
So look, honestly, I'm like wake up super excited every day before the alarm. Like I'm convinced we're into something huge because every day we talk to customers, we go to a industry event, we talk to the team, we live like with lots of excitement because we are sure we are solving a huge problem that will make an impact and is in an industry that is growing at an accelerated pace, like around 10% year over year. It's incredible, and now will grow faster probably because of the AI boom and the political macro situations. But yeah, I had a lot of moments of being proud, but honestly, I'm super ambitious and looking for more. So I didn't have the chance too much to stop and look at them. I'm like looking forward and wanting to grow and get the next milestones. But yeah, like I'm super proud to what we are building. We are really aligned with our values of helping make an impact on the environment and add value to the people we work with. So super proud of that.
For a founder listening who wants to start a climate tech company, what would be a playbook you would share to build?
Yeah, so it's interesting because at the end, the interesting thing is that climate tech, it's an amazing combination of being able to bring profits at the same time than helping, let's say, combat climate change. And the key is, then when you're talking to investors, for example, there is a return of investment. So the focus should be, okay, how this solution brings value, economic value. And then also you can enter the personal mission of the investor and so on of helping combat in climate change, but this in addition. And it's key to think about the solution on how it can really grow, because it's interesting to understand that if it cannot create profits and grow on its own, the impact will not be huge because it will always depend on external funding. So that is very important. And then depending on which type of solution, you can go to certain type of investors or not. But at the end of the story, it's a company, even though it also has a second purpose of making an impact.
Let's do a rapid fire round where you
Mhm.
have like 10 seconds to answer and you're going to keep it very brief.
Sure.
What's your favorite restaurant in Buenos Aires?
So there is a Peruvian restaurant called Primavera Trujillana.
Top three things you would recommend people who are traveling to Argentina.
Wow, Argentina is huge. So you have Patagonia, like either summer or winter for ski, as we said. You have in the north the falls, the waterfalls in Iguazu, incredible. And Buenos Aires is a super fun city, but I would go rather maybe to Mendoza or Cordoba, to the mountains.
Three words your co-founder would describe you as.
So probably will be that you always say, I don't stop until achieving that goal.
What's the best piece of advice you have received till date?
Wow, it's tough because as I told you, I get a lot of advice. I'm very fortunate of that, but it's not really an advice, but it's a way of living. And my grandma, she's like 81 or 82 years old, and she's extremely positive, and she's in fact the number one seller in a real estate company with 82, and she always say like tell to my mom. And when I'm so old, don't tell me to a retirement place, take me to a cruise ship. And this positive way of living is the best advice I get. But it's not through advice, it's through really showing how to do it. So to live in a positive way and look to the bright side of stuff.
Nice. Your role model?
So I have a few kind of idols right now that are actually friends that are working in tech, CEOs, CMOs, and they got enrolled in the army in Israel, and they are really my idols. They are kind of my role models.
Got it. Any book or movie which made a big impact in your life?
Yeah, the Outliers, the book The Outliers of Malcolm Gladwell. It, in a nutshell, my dad showed it to me, and it long time ago, and it really changed my perception of things. And basically on hard work, like it has this rule of the 10,000 hours of hard work.
What would you say to 18-year-old Matias?
Nothing is impossible.
Is there anything you wish you would have differently in life?
Not really.
Nice, nice. Okay, I think this is the end of rapid fire. Is there anything which we didn't cover in this interview and you'd like to end on that note?
No, I think you did amazing questions, and yeah, it's super clear.
Yeah, great. It was awesome hosting you, Matthias. And like, it's amazing the product you building at Replace. So I'll keep an eye on the journey.
Thank you, Mayur. It was great to be here.